Welcome to Recruiting on the Rocks, the podcast where we talk real talk about recruiting, hiring, and building a workforce that thrives. I'm your guest host today, Jason Gillikin, VP of Audience Growth at Walk West. And with me is the normal host of the show, Craig Stone, CEO of HireNetworks. What's happening, Craig?
Not much. It's a wonderful day. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to be here because I understand that typically we drink bourbon on the show. Is that correct?
We do. It is open to all types of drinks.
Okay.
It just so happens so far it's been bourbon.
Okay.
Which works for me.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, on the show, typically with podcasting in general, you podcasters have the tendency to give to the guest and let them showcase their expertise. Mm-hmm. And so in this situation where you have a guest host, all of a sudden you, the normal host of the show, get to be the expert and showcase what you know about recruiting and hiring and building a workforce that thrives.
Well, I've been doing it long enough that I hope I have some value to add.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Should we pour some bourbon?
I would love to do that. You want me to pour?
Yeah, please.
All right. I'm very excited. I'm trying not to show it. Pour yours first.
Thank you.
All right. We'll keep it tame. We'll keep it tame.
Nice. All right. Cheers. All right. Oh, that's good.
I heard something recently that when you taste bourbon, you should have your mouth open.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true, but
all right.
It works.
I'll take it however. Man, I haven't drank on a podcast in a long time. It used to be that we would need to drink to kind of be loosened up. And now I've done it so many times, or, to settle the nerves, but now I've done it so many times. It's like, no, I'm not going to drink, but it's nice to get back to that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
So Craig, I want to talk about a few things on the show today.
Okay.
All right. Recruiting in a world of AI. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about culture in a world of remote work. Like, how do we build that? Mm-hmm. And then maybe if we have time, we can get into some disaster stories that you've heard.
Okay.
But first, tell me about HireNetworks and what specifically you're doing.
Okay. So we've been around a long time, almost 25 years coming up on an anniversary. And we kind of started as a normal tech recruiting firm. And as we've grown over the years, we've expanded into sales and marketing and HR and ops and accounting and finance. And we've also gone upscale. So, we were doing individual contributors, and now we're doing retained searches for CTOs or CFOs or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And we're doing that across the country for a bunch of cool companies. We do it with some really cool big companies, but we do a lot of work in startups and medium-sized companies, and we kind of live vicariously through them building companies.
So is the companies you're working with, or is it the executives that you're working with, or both?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely try to be an extension of that company as much as they'll let us. Obviously the executives are the ones making the decisions and who we're working with to figure out what they need.
Gotcha. Okay.
So both.
But it's not the people that are looking for the jobs. It's the people that are hiring.
Well, it's both.
Oh, okay.
So we have part of the team that works directly with the client and part that works directly with the candidates.
Got it.
It's almost, I hate to say matchmaking, but there's an element of that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. So it's like a marketplace almost. Yeah. And that's hard work, making sure that there's the right fit.
Yeah.
Now, theoretically, AI makes things easier. Mm-hmm. But elephant in the room is the world of AI. Does it make things easier for what you're doing?
I think we're getting there. I think people forget that AI is not new. It's been around. I was at IBM 100 years ago, and we were doing AI back then. It has matured, obviously, and become mainstream. But yes, the tools are there. The tools are getting there. The tools will get better. And there are things that we're doing, that we have some clients that are doing, that other firms like us are doing, that definitely make it easier. Or, there's some efficiencies in there. There's some more effective ways to do it. So yeah, it's a good time.
Okay. So how are things changing then? Like, how are things changing from companies that are looking to hire executives? Is it, as simple as they can filter resumes faster? Like, what are some of the tools that you're using?
Yeah, I mean, there's the entire life cycle of recruiting where I think it'll affect it. But I think recruiters will still be valuable for the foreseeable future because, it's kind of like this podcast. You can't,
Yeah.
It's just not the same if you don't do it like this.
Right.
And so those relationships, and there's things that AI can't know that I may know about you, Jason, that, it will never know. And that can help in the hiring process, whether you're a candidate or a hiring manager. But, some of the things like sourcing tools and filters and all of those types of things, AI can definitely have an impact there.
Yeah.
So we use it. We think of it as a tool to make our recruiters better. So we're definitely kind of early adopters.
Yeah. I was talking to our chief people officer at Walk West, Erica Rooney, right before this conversation. And she was telling me that some of her friends have been interviewed by AI chatbots. So the first 2 rounds of interviews with AI chatbots. And to me, that sounded nuts. And maybe it's just I need to get used to these things. But is that something that you're seeing as well? AI chatbots doing initial rounds of interviews?
Yeah, and I'm probably old school like you, where that makes me cringe. I think it's a reality, and I think we had our first client that called us and said, "Hey, we need to hire another salesperson through you." And the next day, he called back. He said, "Actually, wait, we're going to try it with an AI salesperson." And of course, we had a long conversation that I won't go into here, but cringeworthy. But the discussion we had was similar to what you're saying, whereas right now it seems almost ridiculous. But so did, when we started having trees that we had to call into companies and you had to go and you hated it and you had outsourced stuff that you hated. But then over time, just like chatbots in general and websites, they couldn't go very far and they got frustrating real quick, but they've continued to get better. And plus we've been conditioned to use them to where now you just use them and you're okay with it. And so I think we're in the early stages, but we'll get there to where it's just part of the reality and we accept it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't love it today, but maybe I'll get there.
Yeah. So for people who are recruiting right now, what are some easy, low-hanging fruit types of ways that they can leverage AI effectively?
Yeah, and I think it depends on the type of role you're recruiting for. If you're recruiting for a CFO, that's a lot different than a maintenance technician or a salesperson or whatever it may be. I think sourcing is kind of the easiest place to start.
What do you mean?
Well, and so if you have a recruiter, the recruiter's got to go out and find the candidates, find the resumes, find the profiles. You can automate a lot of that now to where the recruiter is just delivered daily, an automated, hey, here are the right people that match. And those engines are getting better and better to deliver better and better candidates to them. So that's a big time savings for them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then it becomes filtering out those candidates.
Yeah. They're still doing their screens.
Yeah.
They're still doing what makes them really good recruiters, but they're, kind of the back end stuff is happening for them.
Yeah. Gosh, I would say about a year ago, before I really got into using AI on a day-to-day basis, we were recruiting for a project manager role. And in 2 days, I had, I think, 2,500 resumes come through from all over the place. And I'm just like, what am I going to do with this? I cannot, there's no way I can go through all this.
Yeah.
And I think having, some sort of AI or whatever it is, ChatGPT or Gemini, analyze that for me and pick out the best ones would have been so helpful.
Yeah. And I think, so you have that on the back end. On the front end, you change up the prompts and continue to change up the prompts to where you're getting 250, not 2,500.
Yeah.
That is a good commercial for using us to not have to do all that. But
yes.
And, I think where I thought you're going and where a lot of people, if you talk about low hanging fruit, I mean, if you're writing your own job descriptions anymore, you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
The best thing I saw kind of description of AI, this was a couple of years ago. And the guy said, the beauty now is you just start at the editing stage. So for people in your business and writers and coders, you don't have to do all that stuff. Now you're never going to get a job description and say, hey, it's perfect for us. But you start at the editing stage, which is nice.
Yeah, definitely. Any other tools that recruiters or hiring managers should be using?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say here are the 3 tools I would use, but some of those are still early. I mean, we're evaluating daily, and in our, in the HR tech world or recruit tech world, those things are still evolving and changing daily. So we don't even have ours fully rolled out, implement our AI strategy. So
yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, but I'd have to kill you, kind of thing. So, yeah, no, we don't have any secrets yet.
Yeah, but you can't necessarily teach AI the soft skills, right? And and that's what you're doing, and making sure that there is that match. But when you think about the connection that you need to have with with a company and with an employee, how do you help out? And where AI cannot, there's just no way.
Yeah, I think once again, creating that relationship about, and I shouldn't say knowing things that they wouldn't know about you, but the ability to, you talk about soft skills, for example, right? I'm not sure it's ready to figure out your emotional intelligence, right? Where my recruiters may be better at that right now than AI is. Maybe that changes one day. And of course, emotional intelligence is big and broad. But that's an example that I think of. I mean, there's just, we place a number of people that we've known for a long, long time. So we know how they did. We know what that hiring manager thinks of, and we know about that reference. We know a lot of things that it'll be a long time before it can paint that whole picture.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it seems like you're developing relationships with both the executives looking for the next thing, and the hiring managers.
It's amazing how many times they're both, just depending on the stage, right?
Right.
They're a candidate and a client, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why you're out at all these networking events.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
you're wise.
I haven't been able to send AI to those networking events yet.
Not yet. No.
Maybe one day.
Oh, that'd be sad.
Yeah. That would be terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think AI is drinking bourbon either. So
probably not.
There's that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about, the challenge of remote work, because, ever since COVID times, there's been a lot of remote work, and, companies are trying to figure out what's the right balance of, coming into the office versus staying at home and, getting that head down work done. How do you think about building a company culture, a positive company culture in a world that's oftentimes remote?
Yeah, I think you can imagine I have these conversations daily with executives at companies, and it's a challenge. I think it's an opportunity too. I think at the end of the day, you can't demand things. You can't say, hey, we're going to be back in 5 days. I know companies are doing that. I know many companies are doing that, but then there's exceptions and pullbacks and all of that. And I think it's a little scary for companies. I believe in being on site. I believe there's value in collaboration, and especially for younger employees. My son's up in New York City and works for a great tech company up there. And the reason he took that job, it was in office. And he knew, he was struggling remotely. And so I think there's value in being in there. I mean, from a culture standpoint, you got to be a little creative. It is different. I mean, I remind executives, hey, your sales team has been remote for 25 years. So it's not like you can't do it. You got to retool and figure out how to manage remotely and lead remotely, but it can be done, and it can be done well. The culture is tougher. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to truly, genuinely caring about your people. And everybody says that, but I think that has sometimes been, shielded by the fact that, hey, we have a cool office, and we have happy hours, and we have a gym on site, and all these wonderful benefits. When you have remote employees, some of that stuff doesn't matter. And it comes down to if you're, sometimes it still comes down to if you're caring for your employees, but what can I do to help their situation? Is it student loan payback that I can help them with? Is it, you got to be a little creative. So it's different. Culture is different. If you can afford it, getting them together here and there, going to them, I think is powerful. I mean, there's no one silver bullet, but
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
What have you seen to be as the most effective? Is it that hybrid model that you talked about, where it's a choice, or like a 2-3 day a week type of thing?
Yeah, I think flexibility is key. It's funny. It's kind of hurt us in our industry because we've been hybrid since we started. Huh. So I've had employees that work for me for 15 years that have never been in the office. I mean, they've been into the office, but they don't work out. They've never worked out of the office. So I think that flexibility. So hybrid, yes. And I think hybrid to me means some people are going to be in 5 days a week. Some people are never going to be in. when we have meetings and reasons they need to be there, of course they come in, and that's a requirement. But I think flexibility is key.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because I'm old or what, but I don't feel the same energy being on a Zoom call versus being in person. And I don't feel like I learn nearly as much when I'm on a Zoom call versus in person. And so I think, like you mentioned, for especially younger team members who need to learn those things and need to have that mentorship, that's just critical in their development.
Yeah. And I mean, it's better than the phone, but it's not as good as in person.
No, definitely not. And I mean, it's nice that we have that advancement where we can do those things in Zoom. But yeah, I mean, it's just there's so much more that you can generate from being in person. Yeah.
I think it did help in the fact that, there was people flying around all over the country, and, maybe you can do that and save some money and save some time by doing it on the Zoom. And I think we've proved that out to see that, hey, you don't always have to be in person, but there is no substitute to me.
What mistakes do you see companies making when trying to force a company culture together?
Well, I think going back to that flexibility, I don't know that you can force the culture. I mean, the culture comes from the top. I'm writing an article about this right now.
Yeah.
And it's not – big companies are different, right? You have the culture on the website that they preach and all that. But in a big company, you've got a bunch of cultures, geography, department, all these different reasons why you have different cultures, and that's okay. And they all come up under your kind of, master culture or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But, with a small company, it's still paramount. And I think the mistakes are when people force it on somebody instead of just, I don't want to say lead by example, but, the culture still comes from the top for these small to medium-sized companies. And
right.
I see mistakes all the time there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be mean, but yeah,
okay.
And culture's hard.
Yeah.
Culture's hard, and culture is evolving. Your culture at a 10-person company, and you grow to 100, your culture is going to change. When you're 10 people, it all literally came from the top, or from all 10, because you get around a table and all that. When you're 100 people, you've hired 4 different executives, and they have different thoughts, and they have different groups of people, and you're growing, and culture is a hard thing.
Yeah. And so how do you think about that as the company is growing? Like, that's from experience, that's really difficult. When you start off with one and then you have a team member, it's easy to, be involved, right? And develop that company culture. As you grow to, say, 10, it's different. And there starts to be layers with things. And so how do you think about starting a company culture when it's just one person?
Well, and I think you have to be intentional about, going back to what you're saying, when you're 50 people, you're not interviewing everybody anymore.
No.
At 100, you might not have met everybody, and it keeps getting harder and harder. I think you have to be intentional about the people that you hire can add value to your culture. Doesn't have to be the exact same, but are going to add value to your culture and shape it up versus go against your culture, of course. I think, one person, I think you can get away with it, whatever.
Well, sure. Maybe 2 people.
2 people, it becomes more important, obviously. And yes, being intentional. And what I mean by that is knowing that it's there. People go, and there's this expectation down the road that you build out your mission statement and your values and start thinking about those things. And I'm like, you should be thinking about that from the beginning. When you start your company, you should be thinking about those things.
Yeah.
You should be using those early employees and getting, when we redid ours a few years ago, we're still a small company, but when we did those, we got input from everybody, and we crafted that thing together.
Yeah.
Because to say, hey, here's all of our mission, values, vision, and all that, and say, here's what it is, let me give it to you, is a lot different than saying, let's craft this together.
Yeah. How do you feel? So we went to Pendo recently and interviewed Todd Olson for a Triangle Tweener Talks episode. And that company is what, 900, 1,000 people, something like that. And he seems very much involved in knowing a lot of the team members and being involved in that culture and what's going on. And you can see very much it does start from the top. And I was wondering, like, how is that possible? Like, how has he been able to put his stamp and his personality into this company when it's gotten so big?
Yeah, and I would tell you, typically, it's harder to scale when the CEO stays involved, with all of that stuff. I like Todd a lot and have known him for a long, long time. But there are a few people out there like a Todd and some other people that we even have here locally who are just able to do it. I always swear there's two of them, because you're like, how are you there and there? And you were at that networking event. You met every entrepreneur I talked to has met with you. And, it's like you with Todd.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes the time, and he's efficient in that way.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Maybe he has an AI that
probably.
There's two of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. He's figured it out.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, let's talk. Let's have some fun here. With I prepped you to think about some disaster stories, because you've heard a lot of interview stories. You've been involved in a lot of interviews. What, without giving names, what disaster funny stories can you share?
So I'll give you one. I thought about going to my team, but then I was like, I'll have 700 of them, because we've at this point seen it all, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are hilarious. Some of them aren't so funny. And some of them are our interviews, and some of them are our client interviews. And not to say the clients themselves, who have all been candidates at one point, have also messed up some interviews. And people say things, and they get in that situation and get nervous or anxious and say things they shouldn't say. And obviously some people are more savvy at interviewing than others. My favorite one, and I won't name names because I have no idea what his name was, and this was years and years and years ago, that I was recruiting myself. And I think this individual was referred to me, but you kind of start out the screen and just get a feel for the person. I said, well, tell me what you like to do. If you could kind of, and I do this a lot with candidates, if you could script kind of the ideal, job, what would that look like? So tell me what what do you like to do? And he started it with, well, I like to go to conferences and go to events and meetings and things like that. And so that's where he started. And I was like, okay, it's an interesting start. That is also where he ended. And so I was like, I'm not sure that's a job. That I haven't ever recruited for that job before, where you just go to conferences and webinars and events and meetings, and you don't actually have a job per se. So that one has always stuck with me. And I hope he's not watching and knows that he said it, but that was frightening.
Just likes to shake hands.
We did not represent him out into the marketplace.
No.
As you can imagine.
No, yeah. That's amazing. Any other fun stories that you can share?
I'm going to write a book about this at some point, just so we can.
Okay.
I have this has nothing to do with talent, nothing to do with interviewing, but one of my favorite stories, we do a lot in the early stage world, and there's a company here, a very high flying startup. They were this is a little bit before that, and the CTO, wicked smart guy, and he had created this platform back when it was really hard to do that. And he, and I'm sorry, this is just a war story. It's not related, but they had outgrown their office condo. And literally when I went to visit them, they had like customer service people in the lobby. I mean, they were just dying on the vine. So they got another office condo, let's say 100 yards away in the complex. And, back then wireless wasn't, I'm dating myself a little bit, but he took the cables from the server out the door, ran them across the metal fence that went to the next office, ran them back in the door. And like the first weekend, there was a big storm, and it destroyed their whole network because he had taken it through that metal fence.
Oh,
which, of course, lightning immediately hit and took down their whole network.
So this is going to be a good book.
Yeah, I've got some good war stories, just company stories in general.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a disaster interview story. You've heard some great ones also, of course. Give us some tips for interviewing, especially where, attention spans are kind of short right now. Are there any tips that you can give, given all the interviews that you've been a part of?
Yeah. And, I coach people still, and my team definitely coaches people on a daily basis on interviews. And the main thing that I always come back to is be yourself. And I know that sounds maybe a little corny and overused. But I think if we all think back through our careers and go, okay, have I been honest? Or I shouldn't say honest, but have I expressed well what I've done? Have I been myself there? Have I told them who I am? And, on the interviewer side as well, have I been honest and told them truly what this job is about, what this company's about, what the opportunity is, even honest about my leadership style with them. People aren't always doing that. And you're trying to put your best foot forward. I get it. You want the job or you want this employee, but then they're surprised when it doesn't work out and it seems just basic.
Yeah.
We all do it, but it seemed basic. So I would just go back to basics and fundamentals. I'm a tennis player and it always comes back to the fundamentals. And I think just being yourself and being genuine, being honest.
Yeah. And then where is that line though, right? Because you talk about putting your best foot forward and you think about a dating profile, let's say, you want to put your best foot forward for that too. The interview, you put your best foot forward. The company's doing the exact same thing. Instagram, like your Instagram profile is your best foot forward of yourself. But then you get into the regular Tuesday of it all. And so how do you think about like putting your best foot forward, showcasing your energy, but at the same time being the real you?
Yeah. I always laugh because you mentioned even dating sites, and that's a whole nother conversation that I have with my kids, my boys. But, because the picture, it's kind of like LinkedIn. You know, you see the picture and then you go meet with the person. You're like, come on,
wait a minute.
Come on now. I had trouble finding you in the restaurant for some reason. Yeah, I mean, there is a line there and you want to put your best foot forward. But at the end of the day, this is easy for me to say, sitting here this many years later, to say I'd rather not have the job.
Yeah.
But I think you have to hold your integrity. Just like I tell companies, you have to keep your hiring integrity. I know you want the person. I know you need bodies and seats. Not so much true today, but we've been through those types of hiring cycles. And keep your hiring integrity and wait for the right person and keep looking until we find them. I mean, we'd love for them to hire them, all of them, right? But that's just not going to work out well in the long term or even the short term.
So tell me about this podcast. Why did you start Recruiting on the Rocks, and what episodes have you had so far?
So we're 2 in. We've only done 2, because the world needed another podcast.
Well, there aren't that many that have that drink,
and I don't know that there's a ton of good ones, at least not that I found in my industry. Not knocking the people that are doing them. I'm sure they're better than mine. We just wanted to do something a little fun and a little different. And if y'all have seen the Hot Ones podcast, I always get tickled by it, and so when we've done the bourbons, we've gone, 90 proof, 100 proof, 110 proof kind of thing, and make it a little hotter. Not like Hot Ones at all, but that was kind of the thinking in my head. Yeah. Just enjoy it and make it light, and but give them good information. And so I've had a mix of executives and investors, because you often don't get that viewpoint either. I wanted to do it a little bit different, to come in and just have a hiring manager, or just have a recruiter, or just have a chief people officer. We'll have those people too, but get the perspective of from a venture capitalist or private equity, woman, to say, here's what I'm looking for when I'm helping the company hire a board member, for example. And we're also trying to get people on our podcast that you don't see every day, that are a little bit behind the scenes. There's some people you just see them; they're in everything. We kind of talked about that with Todd a little bit. You can find Todd. Todd's doing a lot of great stuff. But who's the Todd that you don't see every day? And so we're trying to get some of those people on there, and we'll have a mix of both at the end of the day.
No, it's a fun show.
We'll have you on at some point.
I would love to. Yeah. So everybody check out Recruiting on the Rocks on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, it's on there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a fun show. Craig, how can people connect with you in HireNetworks? Yeah, I mean, we're at HireNetworks.com, HIRE. Some people want to say HIGHER, which we're fine with that too. HireNetworks.com, and we're here to help people, and it's kind of our mission. So any way we can help, let us know. Awesome. Well, thanks for letting me guest host your show. Hey, that was fun. Thank you. Let's do one more. Cheers. Cheers. Salud. Salud. All right, everybody. This has been Recruiting on the Rocks with your guest, Craig Stone. I'm Jason Gillikin, and we'll see you next time on Recruiting on the Rocks.